Hello, this is Hear Her Sports, the podcast about phenomenal female athletes, and I'm Elizabeth Emery. I'm so happy to be here today with this week's motivating guest, Felisha Legette-Jack, University of Buffalo's women's basketball coach. I contacted Coach Jack because in May of this year, Hannah Hall, one of her players, released a video about her struggle with anorexia. What really struck me was that it was Felisha who stepped in and took action with strength and love when she saw that Hannah was struggling. In the episode, Coach Jack talks quite a bit about her coaching philosophy and why there was never a question of her helping this young athlete despite some fear. As much as she focuses on process and taking care of her athletes, Coach Jack is very competitive and wins a lot. In 7 seasons at Buffalo, she has 143 wins, the second most in program history, 2 MAC championships, 4 postseason appearances, 3 NCAA tournament wins, the first draft pick in school history with Sierra Dillard, and this year she led the Bulls to the second round of the NCAA tournament for the second straight year. This is the second of 3 in the mini-series with coaches. I'd want Coach Jack as a coach. The idea of a strong woman in my corner for life is incredibly appealing. One reason I'm talking to female coaches is because it's such an important, influential position, and there just aren't enough of them out there. For women's college teams in all sports, only 40.8% of the head coaching jobs are held by women. Each woman in this coaching series is quite different with different involvement in her sport, so subscribe to Hear Her Sports wherever you get your podcasts. Sign up for the newsletter at hearhersports.com to get inside info on what's to come. Well, let's get to it and meet Coach Jack.
Hello, nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this.
The pleasure's mine.
Yeah. It's really an honor to have you here. It's been fun to watch your team play in the MAC tournament these last 2 years here in Cleveland at the Q.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We have some young ladies who really like to get on that big stage and tell their story through their dance of basketball.
Yeah. So what does this next season look like for you, for the team?
Every day, we take it one day at a time. You know, it has to evolve, and we don't have a clue until they come and they show and they dream and they become. That's what's so great about the sport that I coach is that every year is exciting. It's all about a wonder, and it's all about a dream, and those young ladies coming together to ignite to become whatever they're supposed to become.
I love your coaching method, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But is your roster set?
Yeah. I think it's as set as it can be. We have no more room for anyone else unless they walk on. So we have 15 players, and we have 4 new kids. So we're really excited about the possibilities.
And I just saw that you signed a couple of European players. How does that come about?
Well, Christian Sharkey did a tremendous job of understanding that, when the season ended and people got excited about what I was going to do and possibility of me leaving, and some kids that we were really on, they decided to back away. And Coach Sharkey kept working and kept keeping the relationships alive. And these young ladies, one of them in particular, have been recruiting for a very long time, and it just went dormant. And Coach Sharkey kind of, made sure those lives stayed, excited and exciting. And those young people decided to continue to, be recruited by us. And we got someone, might be one of our best classes yet. And, in the darkest hour, sometimes the light is right next door. So we brought them up. Coach Sharkey and I, had them by ourselves. A couple of coaches were on vacation, and I had another coach who was taking another job. And, by his grace, we got him to say yes. I don't know whether it's Coach Sharkey's deodorant or my perfume, but it was really fun to see that that kind of talent said yes that late in the game.
Sure, yeah. What are the strong parts of the program? I mean, what's drawing players there? I mean, particularly, I think Buffalo, I don't know. I've lived over there. It's not the easiest draw to get people there.
Well, it's easy to get here. It's a very close airport.
Right.
It's only 15 minutes away from our university, and it's really nicely centrally located. It's an hour from Toronto, and it's all schools, they have their idiosyncrasies of what's good and bad. I went to Syracuse University, and I think it snowed in June, and I'm from there. I can talk about it because it's my home city. I coached over at Indiana, and it's not easy to get from the airport to the university. It's a 45-minute drive, and there's a lot of wrong and bad in every university. but what you're looking for, at other schools, they're looking for certain things. And I think at Buffalo, what they're looking for is the ability to go to a high academic school. But I think that's one draw for us is the fact that, we're here. I'm a coach that believes that your story matters. And every time we get on that big stage of that basketball court, it's not about winning a basketball game. It's about your story and you having the ability to be creative enough to share what people need to know about you. And I've been consistent with that with my staff, and young people from all over the world are saying that, that's something I want somebody to help me navigate, is how to tell my story, how to become who I'm supposed to be, help my dreams become manifest, and not only that, make my dreams be just something minor to what I actually become.
That's a great transition, because you've spoken a lot very passionately about how much coaching means to you and how your role fits into a much bigger picture of your mission, but also, what happens once your players leave the school. Can you talk a little bit about that? And what do you see as your job as the coach?
It's a relationship. It's really not, a job. It's, I know they're not my children, but they're going to be in my life forever. And one thing that we talk about is that if you're going to come play for me, you're going to have to trust me, and I have to lead you. And when you graduate is when I actually start working for you. And I think that, the kids' brains don't develop to 25, and they're not supposed to get it. They're not supposed to really know everything. And I got to allow them to make mistakes every day. And I do. And I share with them, even at 52, I still make mistakes. And, when it's all over and done and you're out there and there's a real big world with the big monsters and people that really don't love you as I do, that's when I become more valuable to you. But right now, we're going to bump heads through college. We're going to not like what we're talking about all the time. At the end, we're going to listen to each other, but it's going to be my way. And you're going to have to trust I have your best interest in mind. And then, when you graduate is when I start to really honor why you decided to come play for me. And that's been manifested a little bit, not as much as that needed as I love, actually, because sometimes the kids go away and they are strong enough to do their own thing. But just in case they don't, I'm always here, and I tell them I'll be their coach for life.
That's really nice. You talk a lot about how important sort of the life lessons are. Where does basketball fit in, and why have you chosen to coach basketball rather than say, I know that you had thought about being a life coach?
Everyone has their passion, and basketball has been my passion. I've played it ever since I was in the fifth grade, and I just really thought that it helped me become the woman that I am. And the shyness I had was insurmountable. I didn't look people in their eyes until the 10th grade, and it just really helped me have my confidence, have my ability to become, a full person. And so this is the carrot I chose to use to help others, have that light get turned on, that they matter and you're worthy of, and you can make bumps and bruises and fall and say and say words that doesn't make sense in a sentence, but you can fix it. You can fix it through the game of basketball. And this is the platform he gave me, because it was taken away at one point. And I thought that was the way I had to go, was through life coach, calling people to see if they need me for mentorship, mental toughness, talk about my defense, whatever. But he gave me a second chance to come to Buffalo to still have the carrot of the basketball to help young people, find their way.
Right. And how does winning fit into that?
Well, if you're going to play the game, you're going to keep score. I'm the most competitive person you ever want to meet. If you and I walk up the stairs together and you think that, and you start taking 2 steps, I'm going to start taking 3. I'm going to beat you up the stairs. I'm going to beat you in a game of jacks. I'm going to play hard in a game of spades. It's just how I'm wired, that if they're going to keep the score, the object is to win the game. And if you're going to win the game and they're going to put a mic in front of you, that's when you tell the story that you want them to know about you. And that's the objective, in my opinion, of winning the game or winning that opportunity. Not necessarily to say, yeah, I'm better than you, but to use that platform to let people know who you really are.
I always think it's really interesting, sort of trying to learn how to balance winning and, competition versus sort of the process that we've been talking about, learning to get better, training, that kind of stuff.
Well, to me, and I said this even through my defeats and even through my firing, I really believe winning is easy. It's the process that is the most difficult. It's like, when do you give up on your dream? When do you give up on your of the strategy that you have that's supposed to help you get to your dream? How do you manifest that? How do you get people to really believe in it to the point where it ignites into a synergy? That's the tough part. That's what keeps you up at night. That's what helps you be up at 4 in the morning, writing notes down to yourself, saying, "I got to try this. I got to think about that." That's what makes kids kick the trash can over. That's what makes people say, "I don't want to do this anymore." The process, why you keep saying this, why you keep making me go through this thing, and then it starts evolving itself to the reason why. And I think that even through that process, you can win and still not understand. And then through the losses, that's a very difficult time. As the process becomes really challenging, and that's when you got to pull your team together and talk about everything other than what you're doing, and you got to bring life into this thing.
You mentioned confidence, that you learned confidence not until the 10th grade. How are you teaching kids confidence? And I've talked about this with other guests that, sometimes the word confidence sounds to me like it's an on-off switch, like, oh, I'm going to become confident tomorrow. And it really doesn't work that way.
No, it's not always. I'm still, no one's really 100% confident. I don't think anybody, the CEO, the COOs of corporations are confident all the time. But that's what it's all about, is being able to walk in your fear. Fear over courage is a very good thing that I like to communicate about. Everyone has the fear. I hate speaking. I hate doing things like this, because what if I say what if I stutter? What if my enunciation isn't as clear for people to understand? What about me being judged? That's a real cool thing for young people. You're
Right.
going to be judged, and I don't want to be judged. But it's being able to walk into that uncomfortable feeling, that fear, and still know that if he takes you away today, what will be left out there for them to know about you? And that's when you have to use that courage and say, you know what, even if I mess up, and maybe I'm not 100% confident today, I have to go out there and try, because it's not about you. It's about the person you're pulling behind you that's looking at you and hope that you get it. Whether you're the freshman that's trying to get it, and another freshman that is shyer than you or more scared of you, or you're the head coach and assistant coaches are looking at you and saying, I really don't know what we're doing, but you look like you know what you're doing. Let's just follow you. So everybody has that fear. Everybody has that uncomfortable point in their life every day. But you got to let that sit in your belly, inside your spirit, and know that you still got to take those steps towards where you need to be or where you're trying to go, in hopes that he gives you enough courage just for that day to get that point told.
In prepping for this, I read a lot about you and your career, and so often you talk about being let go in your previous job at Indiana. And your wording for that is so interesting to me, because you very openly call yourself a failure, which I think is just completely fascinating. Most people aren't willing to take that on.
Well, I'm not a failure. I say that I failed.
You failed. Yes.
I've absolutely failed. You can go from fail to fear to quitting. I just chose from failed to flourish, and through that process in the middle, I decided to stand in it. A lot of people, hover in the corner and hope nobody see their eyes, because their eyes are towards the wall. I just decided to stand there naked, to say, this is what failure looks like, but this is what you can become if you keep trying, through the shaky knees, to the limps, to the embarrassment, to the mirror saying that you're not good enough sometimes, and you just keep taking those steps and saying that, if you give me enough energy tomorrow, Lord, I'm going to take another step towards something different, and towards something what you have in front of me. And I don't have all the answers, but I certainly know that quitting it wasn't an objective for me, knowing that I had a family to help support. And so we had to figure it out. We had to figure it out by waking up every morning and trying to take a different step, another step, and hopefully flourishing would manifest itself. And then you get to a point where through your entire career of all that you've done, you have your most success after failing. And I just know that that's a God wink. I'm reading a book called When God Winks at You right now, and it's a lot of situations where people feel like this can't be. This is not my life. This is so wrong or not what I expected. And then all of a sudden, he takes you down this road, and it's everything that you thought it would be and more.
Where did you learn to accept failing in that way?
Oh, I had a mom that just never knew how to quit. Dad left when we were 8, and we had 4 siblings, including myself, Ep65, and a mother who retired making $36,000 in her career, the most she's ever made, but never walked a day without a smile on her face. Never took a week where she didn't tithe in the church. Never closed her door to somebody that was hungry, even though we were sharing a sandwich ourselves. And to see her just be a pillar. I call her Mother Teresa, and that's not trying to build a person up more than they're supposed to be. She really is a person that really transcends just beauty in human beings. There's a lady that grew up in the South where she had a cross burned in front of her house because she just was black, and her family decided they could have done 2 things: been angry with all people that looked like the person who did it, or pray for the gentleman or people that did it, for they could not know the Lord. And so in that household, you got 5 different people looking at a lady evolve. And we all took different things out of being raised by Felisha Legette. This is the piece I decided to take from her: to give even though they take, to give even though people hurt you, to give even though they set you up purposely for you to fail. You give anyway, because at the end of the day, it's not your relationship with the people, it's your relationship with God.
I would expect that you are a big role model for all your players. Do you like that role?
I don't call that a role for me. It's just what I'm supposed to do for young people. Young people have so many things working against them. They got parents who tries to be their friends. They got parents that, try to set their lives up so perfectly where they both work and nobody's home with the kid. So the kid, all they have is a phone and a friend. And sometimes that information that they get from either one of those things aren't the best information. I just try to stay steady. I try to just treat them every day as if they were new to me, and to be as consistent as I can with what I stand for. And the kids call me old school, where I have certain things that I'm not going to allow them to do in my presence, even if you're, a seer dealer or the last person on the team. There's a perception that we're going to have. You're going to look people in the eye. You're going to walk with one headphone in your ear. What you come with is what you leave with. I'm not in judgment of tattoos, but I think that you need to pump your brakes in those 4 years you're playing for me. Let's not add anything else to your body until you graduate. And these are silly little things that I believe in, but I stay consistent with. And I think that that's where the respect come, and that's where sometimes, kids look at me as a role model, but that's not what I set out to do, is be their role model. I just try to be a consistent factor in their life that's not going to waver because they're good or bad, or they're smart or not smart, or black or white, or rich or poor.
One of the reasons I really wanted to talk to you was the Hannah Hall video. And I was so struck by how you stepped in such a really strong, loving, caring way, that you saw that she was having difficulty and stepped in. I think is really amazing and terrific.
Well, that's when fear and courage collided in my world. And here's a young lady that needed me to be as courageous as I could be. But fear was all over my spirit. Fear was all over my mind. Fear was all over my words. And I certainly know I didn't do this thing to help her by herself. And we certainly know that this is an evolving thing that could be with her for the rest of her life. But through that time and that moment, I just asked fear to step aside and let me hug this young kid and help her understand this is not a fault. This is a situation. And it's by the grace of God that we're going to fight this thing together. We didn't know where we were going to go with this. We didn't know. I mean, here she is, the head of our body, which is our point guard. And here is another situation where I got another best player that's out with academic issues. And I got to pull a team together where nobody really believes in because, we've lost so much that year before with Sweet 16. And we got a lot of teams here doing so well. And the energy clearly wasn't 100% with women's basketball. So we kind of went it alone for a while. And then Dr. Edwards stepped in, Amanda Edwards, who I think is one of the best people. If you're going through something, get her on your team. And then, then everybody else started realizing what we're faced with. But Hannah Hall is one of these young people that raised her hand and said, I have an issue and I want to stand in my truth. I want to stand naked in front of everyone to share it with the world. So this team, only this team, while we're going through this thing and during the year, this is what I'm going through and I need you guys to support me, help me, but make certain that I don't, take a backside. And we went through this thing together. And because of her strength and because of, other people that stepped in, I was able to continue to keep fear out of the equation and walk with courage. And then until the end, when she showed me the video, that I'm like, wow, I'm just amazed by what her and, Sarah, our communication person, and Alex, our video guy, those three decided to put together to make that become a visual of what this young lady went through. And I'm just floored by the outpour of people who needed to see that. I mean, so many people call me and just start crying on the phone, and 3 to 4 minutes later, they start using their words and sharing how we've helped, how we gave hope. And it's nothing to do with me, and it's kind of nothing to do with Hannah. We were the shells that God used to not just help her, but to help so many others.
Yeah, I mean, the strength of the video is really incredible.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So much. We are doing it.
Did you ever have a moment of doubt where you thought maybe that you wouldn't step in?
Oh, no. It was never a doubt. I won't step in. I might have taken steps that most coaches wouldn't take because of the fear of losing their jobs. Right away, I made a phone call to her mother, not to her father. I made a phone call to her mother on purpose because I needed her to hear from a woman to another woman, of a young woman that's in pain. And we got on that phone together, and we just didn't say a word other than cried. And I sat outside in front of Alumni Arena, just sobbing. And we cried for about 15 minutes, and then we just asked each other, I don't know who asked the question, where do we go from here? I said, let her stay as long as we need her to stay. And then we got to a point where I asked her to take her home. And then we didn't know where else to go with that. And we didn't know if we were in a position where we had to put her in a place where 24 hours of supervision. And we didn't have to get to that point, but that mother and me, we worked a lot of things out. And there was the father involved. He's a very good man. And there's my husband, from a distance, and but I just really believe at this point it was about womanhood and us bringing a child into her adulthood very quickly. And it worked. And it worked not because we did it, it's because he allowed it to happen and to manifest in them. I don't know whether it was the right thing to do. I didn't call my administration. I didn't call at first, senior. I called this young lady's mother, and it seemed to be the right thing to do at the right time. All the decisions I make is it's with my spirit, what I call my God, and I think that it just, we took all the right steps only because it was somebody walking before us.
Well, from the outside, it's very impressive and it's very touching that, you did take that step. So from the outside, I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I think she does and I do. And again, it was fear and courage colliding. It wasn't coming together. And we had to and that's the story of everybody's life. They have fear. They have courage. Everyone has courage and fear. And sometimes it's kind of walk side by side, and sometimes it collides and you have to make a decision. And that was the only time that we just said, I got to be wrong or right, but I have to believe that this is the right thing to do.
Right. How do you get the best from your players? Do you have ideas in mind for them or goals for them?
Everybody has to go their own way. A lot of teams come together. There's a lot of great coaches out there that put a team together and a system together, and you're going to come fit your system. And I just never have that. Coaches come and go. I have a coach that just left this year. I had a coach that left 4 years ago, and it's just about the kids. The kids deciding what they're going to become, and I build a team from the kids that I have, and everyone is valued, but everyone is replaceable, including myself. And we talk about that every day. If we don't have a tomorrow, what will we leave today? And I find out where these kids are through their today and hope that a tomorrow come and build individually those kids, and hopefully collectively when the time comes, they'll create synergy.
What's the hardest thing or the most stressful thing about what you're doing?
When you know a kid doesn't get it and you have to cut them loose. That's the hardest thing that I have to undertake. It's this is a basketball team that people equip you with enough stuff and they expect an outcome. And there's times when some people just don't belong. You don't quit on them. I had a kid that I coached at Indiana who really just didn't seem to get it. And, I just was on Facebook the other day and I saw how she's struggling in her life. And I just try to friend her. And I don't get anything out of it. I don't see how she would ever want to friend me back. She hasn't done it yet. But I just felt my spirit that this kid might need me to step into her life again. And you meet them where they are, but can this kid have come to Buffalo and help us play here? No, she doesn't belong on a team, but she doesn't belong out of your heart either. So I try to meet our players where they are, but there's times when you just got to cut a woman loose. And we're prepared to do that. And I'm not now in a position after 31 years this coming season where if it costs me my opportunity to do what I love, I have to save the kid through making tough decisions. And that sometimes is a tough decision is remove sometimes your best player from the team.
Wow, that is hard.
Yeah, that's tough. But I'm willing to do that. Not a lot of coaches are willing to change the numbers and salaries, but they didn't change the mirror. They didn't change the mirror. And I just think that it's important that we have to look in the mirror every day and be true to who we are so that we can really do what we're supposed to do in this business, is to help people, young people, become true to who they really are.
And where do you find joy?
In reading, my family, my son. Today I had the perfect weekend. My husband was out playing volleyball in Ohio, and my son came home for the first time in 2 years for some quality time, and we just sat and watched movies. And I always joke about, I'm Beyonce to my players and how well I sing. I can't sing a lick, but it's just a joke. So he Netflixed her show from, I don't know what it's called in California, Coachella, and we watched it and laughed and like doing silly dances. He's like, "Don't ever do this in public." And went for a bike ride with him, walked with him, things like that. Family is so important, and I really help a lot of families, but I don't really have a lot of time for my own family, and so that's what I do. I try to call my siblings a lot, my mom, and and do a lot of reading. I have some really great friends who were together in D.C., and I couldn't be there because you can't be everywhere, but they FaceTime me in as if I was there. And so, everybody that knows that they're connected with me and that I love them, and I love them for real. And it's fun, and we get silly, and we still got those friendships, and that family is for life.
You talked about connecting with Hannah Hall's mother, and you've also done that Players Tribune video with the 5 Black coaches, of basketball coaches. Yeah. It seems like you have a real connection with women. Am I imagining that?
I don't know if I have a real connection with women. I just know I believe in women, and I believe in the power of women. I believe in their story. I believe in their desire to be great, and I believe in their struggle of being all that they want to be a mom, wife, leader, sports writer, cyclist, and it becomes so hard at times. And I believe that if I continue to tell them that they matter, that they will emerge into not just what they think, but even better. And so I don't have a lot of people in my space. I have a certain group of people that really, and I love men too. Since I've been here, I got the men's basketball players. They come in, they call me Auntie, Mama Jack, and I'm relatable to them as well. But if I have to go out there and get a microphone in my hand and stand on a platform, I think it's important that we power up women because we've been powered down so much, and yet we're the most of the population, and we're the reasons why CEOs are born or presidents are born or leaders are born. They have to come through someone, and then God chose us. And I want women to know that that's a really cool thing, and don't ever bow down to anything based on the fact that you're a woman.
Yeah, one of the things that you mentioned in that Players Tribune video, which is really good, is that you were talking about getting hired, and you said someone saw me and believed in me enough. And I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Building one another up.
Yeah, Hanukkah Brown is the young lady that saw me in the airport with my team and saw that it wasn't going well when I was at my last school. And she said she was going to keep an eye on that. And we weren't really friends. It was just another woman looking out for another woman. We played against each other in Pro-Am tournaments, but it's a high and by relationship. And they had a search firm for Buffalo, and they didn't see the right people that they wanted. And she reached out to me and told Danny White that I might be a person that he needed to interview. And he allowed me that opportunity to come in, even though I was 6-21 in my last year at my last school. And he gave me an opportunity to stand before him with my truth. And it was Hanukkah Brown that saw this woman. And I think that in order to thank her continuously is that I continue to do the same thing. It's just, I think this is the right thing to do. I don't know, just what I decided to do.
Yeah. Would you hire, I know that you just hired an assistant coach and she's another woman. Are you like Muffet that you'll only hire women?
I am Muffet proud. I think Muffet is, she's been doing this a lot longer than me, and she's been fighting for the cause for a lot longer than I have. And I love her pride. I love her story, and I love what she's become. I love what she left when she was at Lehigh and came to the state of Indiana at Notre Dame and failed for years and years and years and became. But I do think that there's a place for men in our game, and there's a place for women in the men's game. And I think there's a place for all of us. And I have a male on my staff. I think he's pretty good. I have women on my staff. I just think that it's important that I pick the best person for me. I saw a young lady that I coached at Michigan State who failed, and everyone knew she was failing, but nobody would throw her a rope. And I think Candace Jackson is an incredible. It's so funny that I said her name and she's calling me on my cell phone right now. But hey, look, that's a God wink in my opinion.
I'll say.
And I said that you know what? She interviewed, and I was talking her through some of these interviews that she was going on. A university called her in the morning and made a flight for her to come to their institution. And that afternoon, they called her back and said, "We're not going to bring you in," with no explanation. It was another woman. That's not why I hired her. I hired her because she knows my defense and she knows my system. She knows my quirkiness and my toughness, and she's able to play off of that. But it's also one of the reasons is because she failed and she needs a chance to become again. And I think he gave me the energy and the situation where I need to be the one to help her.
One of the things that I like to talk about in this podcast is breaking through barriers. How have you been able to break through barriers and find a voice and do what you've done?
I'm breaking through barriers. I haven't broke through anything yet. I'm still we went to the Sweet 16 in the state of New York. We're the only SUNY school to ever done that, and we've never been celebrated. The government gave us a tweet. If a men's team went to a Sweet 16 in the state of New York, I know a couple of them went from Syracuse. That was celebrated. That wasn't really celebrated here. We went with a team that lost 5 players to 32. we got contract extensions, we've done those things, but publicly it's not celebrated. So we're breaking through barriers. We're not happy with the fact that my 16 kids did some really tremendous things, and it was done in the dark, and it never came to strong light. You know, the track record I have, I think that if some other person had this track record, you know, I would have, you know, people breaking the door down. There's nobody breaking the door down for this crazy lady who I think stands for some good things. So I just know that I got to continue to walk through this and go down and continue to break through some barriers for the next person that come in line that go to a Sweet 16 or goes to the Final Four and really be celebrated in what I call the state of New York is the Mecca of the world. And it's not very obvious that it's the Mecca of the world when we've done it. Some good things. We've made history here. You know, we have the only person in the University of Buffalo that got drafted in the WNBA, men or women.
I know, that was great.
It might be somebody coming after. I think CJ got a great chance, but we're the first. And when it's first should be celebrated. You know, my brother went off to college for the first time. You would think that he became the president of the world. The way we celebrated that guy. Oh, no, Eugene went to college. Yeah. I got you. You know, I guess it's a little bit different, you know, and I got to figure out, is it okay or should I continue to fight? So the barriers are there and I'm still breaking through and I haven't become yet because it haven't manifested itself up in the light that I see.
What would success look like? Or what would a broken barrier look like?
Equality. You know, broken barriers mean if I did the work and he did the work, we should get paid the same. If I did the work and he did the work, we celebrate the same kind of way. Is that, you know, what the world's going to see? I don't know. How I see it is, it just kind of makes sense to me. You know, what makes it different? You know, I don't know. And maybe I have this, you know, wool over my eye vision of what reality is. I just believe that he put it on my spirit to say it. I got to tell my truth and I got to stand in it. You know, what makes marketing really work harder for a men's team and not a women's team? I don't see the difference. You know, I don't know what makes a presidency differently for a man than a woman. I don't know how to feel that way because I am a woman. I don't know. But what I see as a success is when a man and a woman walk the same straight line and they get the same result, they get the same reward. And I won't stop until that day comes.
Well, this is a great time to ask you about the growth of women's basketball. And one of the reasons that I really want to ask you about, well, a couple of reasons, but one of them is that at the MAC tournament, I'm always struck by sort of the second-class citizenship of the women's games. You know, they're during the day, not at night. The concession stands aren't open. And it's just really frustrating because the basketball is excellent.
I think it is. It's where I use my platform to grow young women to become mothers and wives and leaders. And I think it's the best in the world. I think it's nothing better than. We got to get other people to help us believe that. I think that we've taken steps towards that. We're so not there. There's a lady that I speak to on occasion, not as often as I want. Her name is Maureen Sweeney. She's the vice president of Delaware North. And she's knocking walls down and I tell her to keep going because as I see you go and do what you're doing and fight in the man's world, if you will, you give me the courage to keep coming and keep fighting too and not settling. And I may not get there as fast or far as her, but as long as she's in the race, I see a visual of what it can become.
Do your players have any interest in playing the WNBA or is it too big a goal?
Well, we had Sierra with the 2 different spots already and wasn't asked to stay. So we're going to do whatever we can to get her to where she can continue to play and tell her story. Because I tell you, I can see Sierra Dillard being an ambassador of sport and coming through me, how she can be compassionate to women and help them evolve in so many ways. But she hasn't gotten the opportunity to stay yet. She got to go away. overseas and do our work and hopefully go back and become. But, basketball is basketball. The only problem with the WNBA, in my opinion, is it's just 144 spots.
Right.
It's 12 teams, 12 players, and there's not enough spots. And there's so many great, women's basketball players that it's not enough space for everybody. So if we can continue to expand it on this thing or G League, they got a G League for guys. Let's have a W League for women. I don't know how you can put it, but or they got to continue to go overseas and make their talents seen there. But if we can get some more spots, it'll be great. But right now, there's 144 spots, and you can't even be mad about a kid not making it. Or I tell our kids all the time, let's go over. I got 3 kids on one team in Australia.
Oh, wow. Cool.
The money's different, but they're still playing. Joanna Smith, Stephanie Reed, and Courtney Wilkins, they're all hanging out and playing the game they love and making a couple of bucks in the meantime, and they're loving it. They're celebrating, their gift. So maybe that's where they're supposed to be. Wherever they are, wherever my kids are, that's the story I'm talking about. That's the dream I'm dreaming. And if it's not the WNBA, it's wherever they are.
Right. And you have Pan Am Games coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm blessed to be. Carol Callan gave me an opportunity to be a part of USA Basketball again. I was involved in 2003 and 2005, and we won some gold medals with 18 and under and 19 and under. And our hope is that, Susie Merchant, who's our head coach, and Vic Schaefer, who's the other assistant coach, our objective is to go out there and let the world know that United States is the best in the world. And through our gift of coaching and playing, our hope is to bring back a gold medal from Lima, Peru.
Yeah. And is it weird going into sort of a short-term situation like that where you don't necessarily know the players and all the personalities and stuff?
We know their gifts, and through their gift, we'll find out who they are as people. And I think it's beautiful. I think that we are charged with, on a short period of time, is getting these young people to love playing for the United States of America, in hopes that they will be the Olympians that other coaches or maybe one of us could spend more time with them in the quest to win gold medals in the Olympics.
We've talked about lifting up women, and we haven't talked about specifically lifting up Black women. How do those two relate for you, and how do you do both?
You do both.
Yeah.
You just do both. It's you fight for what you fight for, and then I think it's all the same. Women, African American women, every woman deserves an opportunity to succeed or fail. And when you give her that opportunity, make sure that you treat her as the person that's next to her. Meaning her counterpart, her male figure that's doing the same thing. I don't fight for just African American women. I fight for all women. I think that we all have a special gift, and we all have magic that we want to create at institutions, at jobs, and at things that they do. If given an opportunity to be great, they will become great, and they will work their tails off to let you know that you didn't just hire somebody. You hired the best for the job. And we won't stop until the best is what you see and the best is what you notice.
To finish up with some basketball, what are you doing right now with your team, and what is the team doing? I assume it's summertime and you're not together.
Right now, I'm actually going to Indianapolis today to speak for the NCAA to youth in Indiana. I'm very blessed that they asked me to come and do that. If I can share these crazy words to save a kid or help a kid or evolve a kid, it's my obligation. So since it's a downtime and our players are home doing their thing, and my son is connected and doing a good job and don't need me as much, and at 20 years old, I got something to give. I'm supposed to give it. So I'm doing that right now. We're going to do some speaking engagements with our university, the athletic department, and it's called the Caravan, and we'll do a few things like that with Lance, our football coach, and Jim, our men's basketball coach, and our AD, Mark. And we'll do 3 or 4 of those things in June. And then I go off to July with recruiting. end of July, we go to Colorado Springs, and then we go to Lima, Peru in August, and prayerfully that my husband will find a spot where we can just kind of have some vacay time before the season starts.
Right. And how much do you get involved in summer training or off-season training for your players?
They'll come up the end of June, and I'll be with them for a couple weeks, 3 weeks, and we get after it, as stringent as we can. 3 of our freshmen out of the 4 won't be here because our 2 German kids are going to be playing overseas, representing their country, and our kid from England is going to be representing her country. So those 3 won't be here, but we will have 11, 12 players here. So we'll get after it, hopefully, and they'll think I'm the coolest person ever because they love the way I yell at them and hug them right after. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
And I'm assuming they're not lazing around in May, though.
Well, they can, but that's why I got trash cans all around the court because I go one way. They know what to expect, and we won't come slow or soft because they chose to take some days off. So I'm working out myself, trying to get myself in shape, and I expect them to follow the plan of Coach A that she gave them for the summer, our strength and conditioning coach. And she put together a great summer workout. My prayer is that they follow it. If they don't, that'll be the choices they make. Life is about choices.
And they'll hear about it.
They won't hear about it. They'll feel it.
Right. And how much do you get involved in off-the-court stuff at school once the season does get going or the year does get going?
I'm tunnel vision. I don't do a lot of things off the court when it comes to my team because I really don't know how to navigate 4 to 6 different things. So I try to put my time and investing into our team and our players and what they find to be important. So we do some community service stuff based on what they want to do and what we can do with that. But, to get involved with all that other stuff, we have some great people here at our university that can hold it down while our season's going on.
Right. Well, I really appreciate you being here. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. Is there anything that I missed and you wanted to talk about?
I just really appreciative hear her sports, and I just think that it's so important that we lift women, not to say that a woman that doesn't do the work or isn't good enough should get an opportunity. But if she is doing her work and she is making things happen, treat her equally to the person that's next to her. And we can have a world of that. I think that we'll have a better world. And I think that we bring something to the table, women, and that's different. And it's not the same. And it's okay. And our treating us equal doesn't mean that we got to, make us pound our chests and do it the way, because men do it their way and we do it our way. But the person in charge can look at us as someone that's doing something equal for their university. That's all we're looking for is that moment called equality.
Well, thank you very much.
I appreciate all you do. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And today I feel like I'm not in a race alone. I got another person that's pushing me in the back or grabbing my hand and helping us go together. So keep doing what you're doing. What you're doing matters. And I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
All right. God bless.
Such a joy. Yeah, you too.
You too.
Bye-bye. Wow, I'm really moved by Felisha's kind words and, motivating words of support for the podcast. And for me, as I continue to talk to all these incredible female athletes, Coach Jack's players are definitely lucky to be working with her and to have her in their corner for life. Again, thank you to her for taking the time to be here. It was an honor. Thank you to Sarah from the University of Buffalo for arranging everything. I love talking sports with friends, so keep that talk going on your end. Tell 2 friends about the podcast, and she'll tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. Visit hearhersports.com show notes to find links from this episode, including the Hannah Hall video. Our music is by the band Goldmines, the logo by Agnes Studio. I will be back in 2 weeks with the 3rd coaching episode. See you then. Bye-bye.
Have you ever wanted to know how to win a Formula One Grand Prix? I mean really know about the driver tactics from the cockpit, the strategy calls from the pit wall, and even the mind games in the paddock. There's a lot more that goes into winning a Grand Prix than just 90 minutes of racing. So every week on the F1 Strategy Report, we're taking a deep dive into the decisions that shape every result. Hey there, my name is Michael Laminato, and every week I'm joined by an expert guest from the paddock to talk through the big calls that won the race and the missteps that resulted in bitter defeat. Before every race, we'll look back at the previous year's result and consult the current form guide, and we'll be in your feed after every Grand Prix dissecting the outcome and what it means for the championship. So for your regular hit of Formula One analysis, subscribe to the F1 Strategy Report wherever you get your favourite podcasts. The Strategy Report is a Beer Mogul podcast on the Evergreen Podcasts network. My name's Michael Laminato, and I'll catch you after the checkered flag.